Usually 1,000 piece.
Hey everyone, this is Krista Wassner, City of Omaha. My favorite holiday tradition is just getting together with my family on whatever holiday it is. Just catching up and getting to know my nieces and nephews as they grow up.
Good morning, everybody. Dustin Marvel with Omaha Public Power District. Our favorite kind of holiday tradition has always kind of been driving around neighborhoods, looking at the Christmas lights. I think like I've heard there in the room. So kind of fun, nothing too crazy, but definitely enjoy seeing all of the decorations.
All right, thank you. I hope I did good enough for Keith on that one. I was worried about that this morning. So here's the agenda. We don't quite have a quorum today. Thank you to those who did come. You're just a couple shy, so we will skip approving our past meeting minutes and skip right ahead to Robert and Lisa here with the City of Omaha, talking about their climate action resilience plan.
Is it okay that I don't stand?
Oh, whatever you want, you can lay down. We'll see how well this works, but we might have to have Charlie run through that for you. Let's do the slides for you.
Well, thank you for having us today. My name is Robert LaRocca from the City of Omaha Planning Department. I am serving. I've been with the city for about 7 years in April, and spent most of my time to that point working in the current planning division. Last 5 years serving as the city's planning board administrator, and I'm also the city's floodplain administrator. So I wear a lot of hats. Recently had the opportunity to move over to long range planning, work with Derek Miller now and Lisa, was given the opportunity to serve as a project manager for the climate action resilience plan. A little background on that, it was I think in March that the city went forward with trying to authorize the creation of the climate action and resilience plan. There's some history to the whole process to this date, but following that, the EPA announced a grant or the potential for a grant for $1 million to do a climate action plan. The city pursued that grant, and we got that in August. And that's about the time that I came on board with working on this project. Lisa has been working on this project since its inception in March, so it's got a little bit more time working on it than I do. At March, the city hired a consultant, Heartland company out of Minneapolis, run by a gentleman by the name of Ted Redmond. And they were instructed through the RFP to create a series of baseline documents that would take a measure or take a look at greenhouse gas emissions and some other items that we'll get into here in just a second. Those matched very well with the requirements of the EPA grant. The EPA grant is unique in how it is structured, if you're aware of that at all. And there's essentially two phases. The first is what's called the Priority Climate Action Plan. The second is what's called a Comprehensive Climate Action Plan. The first of those phases is due to the EPA on March 1st of 2024. So we're working under a really truncated deadline right now. The EPA grant, that version of this climate action plan is a regional plan, and we are partnering with MAPA to work through the data collection, analysis, recommendations, targets that would be included in that. The priority climate action plan, the one that's due on March 1st, has two components that need to be included. The first is an evaluation of greenhouse gas emissions within the city. And the second would be, that evaluation would also need to include target reductions that are quantifiable. The second component would then also include more kind of holistic, comprehensive, maybe resiliency related actions related to climate action, but not necessarily focused on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. The second component of these plans that's due, I think, end of summer 25 is the comprehensive climate action plan, where we would look at the implementation of those broader, larger, climate related, targets recommendations. So it's structured a little bit uniquely. We haven't seen anything from the EPA or any federal agency that's kind of structured this way. But you know, we're moving forward as hard and fast as we can with the submission of that preliminary or priority climate action plan in March. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Zero luck today.
No.
Okay. Charlie will
So-
advance and she'll get here.
To, you know, so taking a look at the process as it's going forward, it's important here to recognize that the work that's been done thus far is largely contained to the work that's done by Pale Blue Dots and specific to the city of Omaha. MAPA is in the process right now of doing the data collection and evaluation of similar statistics to what we have already procured for the city of Omaha, but they're doing so on a regional level. So we really appreciate that component of the work that's being done right now, knowing that we wouldn't be able to move forward without that. So what you see here is specific to the city of Omaha and not the region. So let's be clear on that. So phase one is the research and documentation portion of this climate action plan that's been performed primarily through Pale Blue Dot. There were 5 different documents that were to be established as a part of that process. You can see them there. Hopefully you can read it all. There was primarily a greenhouse gas inventory that's going to look at the production of greenhouse gas in the Omaha area. The vulnerability assessment is going to be taking a look at both populations that are vulnerable in the area as well as infrastructure that's vulnerable, especially to climate related events or issues that as they arise. The ground cover study is just taking a 10,000 foot view of the aerials of the city, taking a look at impervious coverage, taking a look at tree canopy, types and species of plants, as well as things like roofs, reflectivity of those roofs, black, or reflectivity of parking lots, things like that. So dark colors versus light colors. And then a renewable energy potential study that takes a look at what kind of renewable energy potential there is in the city moving forward. Those documents were delivered to the city in draft form in early November. We've presented those to the city council. We presented those to our planning team, which is really the organization or group of people that and entities that's going to be largely responsible for drafting this plan. Those are under review. We hope to have those publicized on city web pages, including NAPA's page, soon, but it is still under review. We're awaiting comments from people. Excuse me. Along with that, there's a public engagement component. We do have a survey in the field right now. Hopefully you may have seen some reference to that, or if you've had the opportunity to take that survey yourself. And if you have not, we would really appreciate that you do that and that you distribute that in your organization to really try and get our response rates. I can say at this point, as of either late last week or this week, we're at about 1,700 responses. That's been open for about a month now. Our goal is to get to 3,000 responses. We feel that the response rate is pretty good, and then we can get to that 3,000 by the time that survey closes. And then we're also in the process right now of looking at our public engagement. There's kind of 2 different things that are going on with public engagement. The first is, I referenced earlier, the planning team, which is really the name of the stakeholder group that's really going to be responsible for formulation of the plan, taking a look at targets, recommendations, and determining which of those are suitable or appropriate for the city of Omaha going forward. That component is going to match up with the regional the regional objectives and goals that MAPA discovers as a part of their data collection and evaluation. And then the second thing is a larger, broader engagement effort that's going to be, as a part of the survey, you have the option of asking to join what's been referred to as the stakeholder focus groups. These are gonna be larger entities. It's kind of like planning team light. So you have the ability to have your input into the process and into the targets and recommendations that we're looking for, without the larger time commitment. So general public or entities outside of, the city and region that have some interest in this, that might be a good fit for their work. So again, as you fill in the survey, if you don't have representatives that are already working with the planning team or working with those parts of it, the focus groups might be a great place for you to start. The other thing I'll say with the survey is that the only requirement that we have to fill in is zip code. So you're not required to be a city of Omaha resident. Anybody can do it. We've seen responses from Iowa, from Western Nebraska. I think we might have some that were overseas, but I'd have to take a little bit closer look at exactly that response rate. But so what I'm saying to you though is that the regional component of this, the poll or the survey would reflect that. So if you're outside the city of Omaha, you can take the survey, and we're not going to be shy about sharing results. As we move forward, we're going to be really ramping up that public engagement effort in the spring. This will be probably post priority climate action plan component, the post PCAP. You know, the overall climate plan that we are in the process of doing is a lot longer than what we have for the EPA grant. So the public engagement effort will be more robust than it is now. But with the holidays, the truncated timeline, it's just kind of where we're at right now. Go ahead and advance, please. So, as I noted, those 4 baseline documents, vulnerability assessment, go ahead and go again. It's important to note here that all of these documents, they are in draft form and they are not intended to provide recommendations or to identify those recommendations, say, this is it, this is what we're doing. The intent is just to kind of give our planning team and the people that are involved in this process a place to start, a common ground to start at, so that we can kind of move from there. The 5th document of these is the baseline assessment, which takes a look and synthesizes all of these together and kind of provides some basic goals or opportunities that we can identify and that might be a good place to start. Go ahead. As we go through that, our planning team is going to be working through a series of workshops where our group will be asked to prioritize a couple of things. For instance, wastewater flood control would be one that I would be in. I think Lisa's doing natural land use and agriculture, given her background in urban agriculture. There's workshops for building energy efficiency. There's workshops for ecology and green space, things like that as well. So they would be asked to participate in 2 of those workshops. There would be some fairly time-intensive homework-related work that planning team would be responsible for doing. But really, as they do that work, that's where our recommendations and targets are going to be coming from. So we have a very broad, very general list of things that were provided in the baseline assessment. We want to drill down and get to more specifics as a result of that data and the input from the planning team. Go ahead. So there's just kind of a breakdown of what I just talked about. Go ahead. So the vertical bold line you see there, that's where we're at in the process. We're moving forward with plan development. The draft of that is to be due, I think, in June of this year, which will be released and available for public comments. And you know, we'll take a larger look at that. There will be some public meetings associated with that, and then we'll go back into the shop and start working on revisions, edits, and you know, just reflection of public input, elected officials. Go ahead. Go back one. This is always one, well, forward one, I guess. This is always one that Ted Redmond has used in his presentations. He really likes that. And I don't remember the source. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so we're looking from 1895 to 2021, average Nebraska's average annual temperature. If it's blue, it's below average. If it's red, it's above average. So it's just kind of a quick visual way of saying that yes, they're trending hotter. Go ahead. As a part of the baseline evaluation, we've got some preliminary statistics that I think it's valid to share with you. You'll see the baseline average daily maximum temperature, Douglas County is 60.1 degrees. We can, so the two things to note. First, the column that says mid-century, the 2050 averages, that's pretty much baked in. Greenhouse gas emissions have occurred to the point where there's not a lot that we can do about those raises and averages. However, we can bend the curve by the end of the century, the 2100 averages. And so efforts that we take now to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to improve our resiliency are really targeted at limiting the damage at this point. But as you can see there, if we don't do anything, the baseline average mid-daily maximum temperature will increase about 12.5 degrees from 60 to 72.5. The number of days per year above 95 degrees will go from 8 to 79. That is 95 degrees is statistically significant because that's the temperature at which the human body can no longer cool itself. So at 95 degrees, you have to have sustainable air conditioning to survive. That equates to energy costs. That equates to building efficiency, any number of different things. And then at the bottom, you can see the number of days that are below 32 degrees will drop from 136 to 84. That's longer growing seasons. That's longer allergy seasons. That's longer tick and mosquito seasons that are going to be impacting this population in the next 50 to 100 years. Go ahead. And then another visual or another way to consider the statistics that we're getting would be if we took the city of Omaha, picked it up and dropped it 14 miles further south every year for the next 86 years, or 202 feet per day. So by 2100, we can expect to have an average rough climate and temperature similar to that of Ciudad Rio Bravo in Mexico. That's going to happen without action occurring today. Go ahead. Part of the vulnerability assessment that was submitted also looks at our primary climate risks and the populations those are going to impact. So we've taken a look at, this is with HDR, I should note that, and some of the things that we can expect through climate change. Extreme weather would be a great example, having just gotten through a summer where we had a couple of extreme weather events. And we could take a look, go ahead and advance it, as to what like an extreme weather event or a flood, air quality or vector-borne illness, we can take a look at what populations are those going to most dramatically impact. So we look at older adults, economic stress, people of color, at-risk workers. And we can also take a look at those impacts in terms of economic risk. So we can look and see that energy costs are going to impact those populations as well. Go ahead. The economic risks that we've identified according to the study noted there at the bottom, sorry. We can expect close to $1.1 billion in damages annually for the county. 919 million of that would be specifically the city of Omaha. Go ahead. Forward. Now, here's the meat of the data that we're really looking at. The item that you really want to be taking a look at here is that chart there, citywide emissions versus GDP. What you'll see is that overall, we've had a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in the air in the city of Omaha, a pretty significant reduction of almost 27%. Given COVID and some of the other things, the general trend of the United States to be down in greenhouse gas emissions, that's not altogether too surprising. But when you compare it to the GDP, which has gone up substantially during the same time frame, you can see that it is possible to reduce greenhouse gas emissions without adverse economic impacts. Go ahead. Oh, before I have you go ahead, on the right there, I know it's a little tough to see, but that is a visual representation of our greenhouse gas emissions. 140.2 billion cubic feet. It's roughly 1 mile wide by a mile deep by a mile high. And that picture was, or that visual was created at a distance of about, placing that square in the middle of Midtown for about 3 miles away. It's a graphic representation of what our greenhouse gas emissions look like right now. Go ahead. Now, the most interesting thing here, and I should probably stop talking soon, but I think this is worth noting, is that of the emission reductions that have occurred in this area, 41% of that is coming from reductions in electricity emissions. So that's coming from OPPD. We are rising in terms of wastewater, in terms of solid waste and mobile combustion. Generally about a wash with stationary combustion. Go ahead. OPPD's work, and we don't need to go through this, keep going, unless they want to. I don't know what happened there, or that. Oops, now we're having problems. But I think I've wasted enough of your time. So, it's all right if we, condense this now.
That graphic was just not big.
Go to this one?
Well, this gets to a point where my explanations aren't gonna be very good anyway, so. However, I'll wrap up and say that, so we've got a lot of information at our disposal right now. We're looking forward to getting additional information from MAPA as their collection effort moves forward. And so we feel like this gives us good data and a solid start to identifying the targets and recommendations that we think that we can implement in the short term, and then give us a large range of things that we can take a look at for the comprehensive climate action plan going forward. But if you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. Like I said, we can provide you with this or a number of any other documents or information. We do intend to get the baseline documents out and available for the public to take a look at soon. Please encourage your organizations to take the survey. Every little bit helps. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely send that link out. Does anybody have questions? I mean, we've got plenty of time, so if there's questions about this or kind of how it relates to state of Nebraska or the regional, I did put together a couple of slides about ours. Maybe if you want to just move to that, there's a couple of slides just to talk a little bit about ours too. Go for it.
So as Robert mentioned, MAPA is taking care of the regional action. We're looking at the MSA, so the larger region. So this includes, and you've got to correct me, the names. Oh, it is on the screen. Thank you, Laura, help me out. It includes Cass, Douglas, RP, Saunders, and Washington counties, the Nebraska side. And on the Iowa side, we have Harrison Mills and Potawatomi counties. So what we're currently doing is developing an inventory. We're using the EPA basis of how to do these inventories. Basically, we're taking assumptions. They've been converted to metric tons of CO2. So whatever the pollutant is then converted to metric tons of CO2. And we're developing that first. Part of that requires a lot of some data inputs and data information that we will be requesting or have already been requested by Josh. So if you haven't had an email from Josh requesting additional information, it's coming. So the way this is split up is into different sectors. One is mobile sources, so to take the total VMP within each county and develop how much emissions are being put forward based on that. Same with stationary, which includes how many houses or housing permits, etc. And some of the assumptions that we have for the entire region developed by the EPA. So that in a nutshell, and for my very cursory, we'll look at what the inventory was about, is as much information as I can give you without going into too many details. But our strategy right now is really trying to push forward this regional inventory trying to figure out where some of the costs are. When I say cost, where the biggest emitters are, where the biggest CO2 generators exist. We have a feeling it's gonna be similar to some of the information presented at the state level. One of the other things to note is that the state is also doing an inventory and doing a plan. So we have all three levels of government. We have the state doing a statewide plan. We have MAPA working through a regional plan, and we have the city working on their localized plan. It might get a little confusing, you might be getting a lot of different emails about talking to us or getting additional information. But we're trying to make value added meetings when we can. The big thing that we're really striving for, this is phase one of funding, right? Phase one is this planning, trying to develop a plan of action for our local community. So with the regional plan, this phase one planning, we're trying to include as many different communities and counties within the region to be able to access phase two, which is implementation dollars. So that's really what we're after. We're trying to include as many people as possible so that we can access these additional funds into the future. And that's our big ask. Right now, the MSA is a large region, and so we're trying to get through this as best we can. So that is kind of what we have. Listen for more additional work that we'll be doing. We will be tapping into Heartland 2050 and RPAC and all the different subcommittees to hopefully bring in these regional perspectives, along with the city of Omaha and what they're doing to try to coordinate as we go through this. Yeah, the big deadline right now for us is March. And so we're trying to get as much done as we can.
One of the things that we'll be reaching out to you is try to understand what projects or things you are trying to do that would have this impact on greenhouse gas emissions. So whether that's switching your fleet over to electric or getting EV chargers in your community, what kinds of things are you already thinking about that we can include in this plan and these priorities that then we'll submit for funding?
If I could note, Carlos, thank you for reminding me of the implementation grant. That's the second thing that needs to be done with the priority climate action plan is identify those programs that could be implemented as a part of the comprehensive climate action plan. And that information is critical to the implementation dollars. That the grant application for the implementation dollars is due 1 month after the priority climate action plan. So essentially the PCAP will serve as the application for those implementation grant dollars.
So we want to include all your projects, so everything you want to do, we want to put it in there.
Yes, absolutely. And there's the information on the implementation grant dollars has not been forthcoming from the EPA. I'll be perfectly honest about that, but it is an absurd amount of money. It's like $4 billion that they're handing out. And there's like 10 or 15 grants that could be done in the $200 to $500 million range. It's all competitive, but they're really looking for collaborative actions, regional actions, holistic whole program solution for an area. And that's where those competitive dollars are really going to be focused on, those types of programs. So a regional effort is really critical as part of that.
Yeah, and for the region, like I've been looking at some of the numbers for previous years at the state level, and agriculture happens to be really bigger, say, or really bigger emitters. And so thinking through what does that mean and how it's split up between crop and livestock and how to move forward. And those are challenges not only faced within our region here, but at the larger nexus of the state, right? The next one is usually transportation, anywhere between 14 to 20%. That also emits quite a bit. So one solution is convert some of the vehicles to electric. Some of the biggest emitters are diesel engines. So are there projects or programs or things that we can do as a region or as a whole to convert some of these more polluting diesel engines to something that's cleaner, possibly CNG, possibly some other form of fuel. So if that is something that's palatable and that people wanna get behind and make the biggest change, maybe that's one of the things that we get to do. Other things also include developing public charging stations and working closely with OPPD. It's not really good to put in a power bank or charging station in the middle of somewhere that doesn't get electrical access. And so there has to be a level of coordination with all our different partners as we get into these tough conversations. That's all I have.
Oh, you guys got the experts here, so any questions, good time, but we'll share contact information as well as the link to the survey and the minutes and the presentation as well with the group afterwards, so.
Quick question on timeline for stakeholder groups. When to sign up for those, just online right now with the survey, or is that later?
You can sign up for them right now. You don't have to take the survey to sign up for the stakeholder group. It's just an option as part of the survey to sign up. And then I will be holding a meeting or at a meeting later this afternoon to kind of flesh out that engagement process with those groups. So we'll have more details on that soon.
If anyone's interested in the state climate action plan, they've already started their stakeholder group meeting, which I would encourage folks to attend. Anyone can attend those, and some of them are in person and some are remote. So they've had their second round was yesterday, and then I think they're going to do 2 more. You can get on NDE's website and sign up. You can also see the recordings of all of their previous presentations and meetings.
And I've put our website here, and we do link to both city and state, so that should be an easy place to find some other information as well. Great, we really appreciate you guys being here today. This is a big topic and we're really excited about it and moving forward for the region. So thank you for your time and being here. And feel free to stick around or go if you want. So we're a fun group. It's not that. Okay, so I wanted to bring up some stuff around this committee's membership and bylaws. So just for some of you who may not know, some of you have been on the committee for quite a while and are aware of this, but we do our committee member appointments a year at a time based on MAPA's fiscal year. So that is July to June. So pretty quickly, you will hear from us about updating your membership for the next fiscal year, as that is approved. That list, or the membership list for RPAC is approved by the MAPA Board of Directors in the spring every year. So you will get an email from us in the next few months. I just kind of wanted to prep you guys for that, just to say whether or not you'll continue to serve. Maybe if there's a different representative from your city or county that wants to come, but you'll be getting that information. And you can review your contact information and who your alternate is. We also could suggest any new at-large members. We do at the moment have a limit on membership, so we're getting pretty close to our 40 limit. I think we're at about 38 right now. But we can add at-large members if anyone is interested in kind of bringing a different perspective to this group. We do, just in case you don't remember, maybe you've served on this committee too long, but or long enough to not remember RPAC 101, but we do, if you are a new committee member, we're bringing somebody new on from your org, we do a 1 hour kind of introduction to what the committee is, what those expectations are. So we will go through that with them before they start their first meeting of the fiscal year, is always in August. So I just wanted to prepare a little bit for that. We are also talking about our mini grant selection committee. So you flip to the next slide real quick. So if you see here on this screen, so we're the Regional Planning Advisory Committee and TTAC, and in between is our Heartland 2050 mini grant committee that is made of members of both TTAC and RPAC. So pretty quickly here, we go back to the other slide. We are asking for 2 volunteers from this committee to sit on the mini grant selection committee. So that mini grant program is a set aside of our regional federal transportation funding that we use to advance the principles of Heartland 2050 vision. So I put the link there as well. So basically, we have this open call for projects right now. We'll have some information on that in a little bit. So people can put their applications in for this project, and this would be part of the selection committee to determine which project would get funded out of that. Carlos has assured me minimal time commitment. I put about 2 to 4 hours of time between 1 or 2 meetings. So just depending on the number of applications you get and how in depth you want to review those or look at those. We've kind of always had enough funding to fund all of the applications we've gotten, so it's usually pretty easy, but if we get, you know, twice as many applications as we have money for, then we'll have a little bit more in-depth conversation. But you guys can either let me know now if you're interested in serving on that or contact us later, but we are looking for 2 committee members to sit on that. Okay. I mean, we'll take more and you guys can fight it out. We'll have some kind of thank you. Perfect. So you can tell them how exciting and wonderful it was, and we'll get to more volunteers next year. One other thing I wanted to bring up, just in terms of talking about membership and updating our membership for the upcoming year. So some of you are new this year, but back in April, before you would have started your term this fiscal year, we did vote to change the committee quorum down to 15 in order to kind of move our ability to make decisions on this body. But during that process, we really suggested that the committee should do an in-depth review of bylaws as a next step. And if you'll flip to the next slide, there were some reasons, and you can see that some of this is a lot around membership. You know, there's this maximum of 40. Do we still want to keep that? Is that limiting perspectives on this group? How do we appoint at-large members? How are we selecting officers? So just there's some really big basic questions in that that I thought could use a look. Because there's not a lot of clarity in some of that, and there's kind of a lot of how we've done it in the past, but maybe it might not be the best way for this committee to move forward. So basically, we did ask, we got a few volunteers. Bruce was one of them. Thank you, Bruce. From last year, when we talked about this at our April meeting. So Keith, Ashley, and Bruce had volunteered. We just think it's kind of maybe time to move this forward. So we're going to try to set a meeting after the new year with anybody who's interested. So you can let me know now again, or you can text them later. If you're interested in sitting on that, I promise it will be almost as exciting as the Heartland 25th Committee Grant Selection Committee. But we just think it's a good next step just to take a look at those. And even if nothing changes, we at least know that we have kind of reviewed those, that they still seem to be working in functional pattern. All right, we're up to our committee updates, and Ashley is not here, I don't believe, unless she joined online. We do have an equity engagement committee meeting on not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, the 12th. They are possibly doing a social event, so we'll see how that goes. We did still TBD on details. I believe everyone would be invited from RPAC and the other committees as well, so we'll try to get that information out to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, the last Housing and Development Committee meeting, the committee served as a stakeholder group for the land bank, and land bank has a qualified census tract housing funded program called the lot transformation efforts. They developed some rubrics on how to evaluate parcels that the land bank owns to get at least 20 of those sites buildable. Moving forward, the committee interested in working with Omaha by Design and the upcoming missing middle playbook, as Brian Acker is part of that from Paul Basham. He's on our committee, so kind of will serve as another group to facilitate the creation of that playbook, and then continue to be a liaison with the work group 3 and 4 of the City of Omaha's Housing Affordability Action Plan. Those are the things that are coming up right now. Still have pretty robust involvement and pretty good committee membership and engagement.
Can you talk a little about what those working groups are doing? I'm not very familiar with that. For the half.
Yeah, so working group 3 is looking at innovation around design. And working group 4 is looking at policy and code that the city of Omaha has that can be improved. So like the accessory dwelling unit or change is one that is already kind of underway, but the working group for help.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the ADU for you competition?
Oh, yeah, that's something I was gonna say. So that, well, I mean, from Meredith was there, I think the others on Tuesday night. There, so AARP put together a design competition with a number of partners and the jury that kind of reviewed, I think 20 of those proposals that came in, and there was an awards reception on Tuesday evening. The winner was from Allie Pointer, and the second place was with Straight Line Design, and I think third was, Jeff Day, actual architect. And then there's an honorable mention from B2 Labs for the conversion of garage space into an accessory dwelling unit. And it's a great event, good publicity, even on the news and some other places. And so now Derek Miller is taking that from here with this implementation with the city of Omaha. Maybe Lisa knows more.
So what they're trying to do with some of those ADU designs is get them fast tracked for approval so that they can move quickly through the approvals process. And then we've also been talking a little bit with Douglas County, and they're interested in then taking whatever city of Omaha is kind of fast tracked and implementing that across the county. So we're really trying to kind of move forward all these.
And at the event on Tuesday, I think Todd Studendek from AARP Nebraska indicated that with the success of this, that perhaps there could be next year a similar design competition, but around that kind of missing middle.
Different missing middle housing types, so whether that be duplexes or quads or so. There's a ton of success and a lot of buzz around there.
That's everything.
Mike.
Okay, infrastructure committee. So, the last meeting we had an update from MED. James Bartles from MED gave an update on MED's overall master plan. I unfortunately had to miss that meeting, but I heard it was very well received and a lot of great information that was presented by MED. So we have a meeting next week. We have basically next week will be updates from some of our committees. We have a holistic TIP committee, and there's actually been some students from UNO that have been working with that committee. They're going to come in and present on some of the findings that they've had. The digital equity plan has been completed, so Shauna is going to come in and give an update on that. And then reconnecting communities and the grant and the work there, that group is going to give an update on that. We have one other committee, responsible infrastructure. We're still trying to get a little steam on that. Some of us met a couple weeks ago just to try to maybe revamp and redefine that committee to get a little more energy behind that committee. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the meeting. And then for the February meeting, we have an update scheduled from OPPD on their master plan and renewable energy efforts. So that came up a couple times with the climate action plan. So that'll be nice to hear from them at the February meeting. So if you're interested, please attend. And we are looking to expand. So that's another thing we're going to be looking at is just kind of a membership drive or just ways to expand who comes to the meeting. Maybe get involvement from some of the early career professionals as well. And so we'll be kind of kicking that off. I think that'll be a push maybe for the next year goal.
When is that?
It's Wednesday, February, December 6th, so next Wednesday.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the 6th. The OPPD one will be February. Right now it's February 7th, although I do have an email.
I know, I was waiting until Saul came back and let him.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So yeah,
We got
he'll
some
be back
time.
next week, but
Okay.
yeah. Did you want?
I
Invite
think
to
we'd like
those?
to come to the February meeting.
Okay, I mean, I was, did you, yeah, we'll talk,
Yeah, okay,
but I'll get you that one for sure.
thank you.
And Zach is here as our special guest today.
We planned this. We sat together. The last two meetings of the Natural Resource Committee, we've focused heavily on, reviewing and getting up to speed on the CARB. Because of some of the work our subgroups are doing. One of those being the community forest plan, which has been around, probably 2 or 3 years now, developing some ideas and thoughts around assessing existing tree canopy, monitoring and counting. And so through Robert's presentation, you can see where that piece really fits into the CARP as a whole. And so the Natural Resources Committee has really turned our focus towards the climate action plan right now and how we best integrate and provide input, answer questions. Our last meeting, we went question by question through the survey, just to, again, really dive in and see what's there. And so we have kind of found our direction as far as that goes. Very similar to what Mike mentioned, we also are kind of at the point of reassessing some of our subgroups and committees, taking another look at goals and objectives of the committee as a whole, and if we need to pivot, gain members, add a group, subtract a group, kind of redefine our direction a little bit, aside from offering input into the climate action plan. The solid waste group is monitoring upcoming legislation, LR 163. That's really a Kent thing, so that's all I could even say to that.
The interim study on something,
Yeah.
recycling,
Yeah,
municipal waste.
waste. We'll just throw some words together. Yeah. And so that's really, you know, the climate action plan and then assessing and defining our direction moving forward is really the two things we've been working on a lot lately.
I know Ken's kind of involved. I know he's been talking pretty close with Robert on that, and I just want to make sure, like, we know that it's part of MAPA's focus to really make sure that the Natural Resources Committee is integrated into that, but let us help push that as much as you need. So if you're not feeling like you're kind of getting that momentum, let us know, and we can try to work a little harder on that.
So far, we've done included, so.
Fantastic. All right, you can hear from me again. So this is just MAPA update. So we do have our call for projects open right now. We have two. We have one for the transportation management area, which is in the blue there, Douglas RB Urban Potawatomi. Applications are due January 12th. There's our website. We've got all of our experts here in the room if you have questions on that. And then we also have one open for our RPA 18, which is in the gold there, Harrison, Shelby Mills, and non-urban Potawatomi. Those applications are a little bit farther at the end of January, but again, experts are in the room for any questions that you have. And the Heartland 2050 mini grant would be part of this call for project. So just FYI on that. Safe streets and roads for all. I just wanted to kind of bring this up again. This will be kicking off with a lot of momentum coming up in the next year. But so we are working on a regional comprehensive safety action plan, particularly targeting traffic fatalities and serious injuries. This geography is kind of there. So you'll see Douglas, Sarpy in Nebraska, and we've got cities in Iowa, which is Council Bluffs, Carter Lake, Crescent, and Wetland. The rest of Iowa is kind of covered by a different grant award. Again, all the experts in the room, so if we have questions on that, but that'll really be kicking into high gear next year. And again, this is another way that we are trying to bring federal funding for project implementation. So these are always this is kind of the first step in that. So I did pass out a sheet here with a lot of information, kind of all of these MAPA updates here. But one of them is our annual membership survey. We've kind of had limited that in the past, but we would really love as much input as possible. This really just talks about what kinds of things you and your organizations or jurisdictions are looking to do in the upcoming year and how MAPA can support that. We develop our budget and our work plan based off of that information. We will also be happy to come out and talk to you about kind of what you've got going on coming up. So please fill that out. It'll probably take 10 minutes or so, but it's really helpful for guiding our work because our work is really to support you and what you are doing. And that due date on that is the 12th of January. MAPA calendars are here. So we did some small ones this year, just for visual aid, but our large ones are here. Bruce has got a stack up here, so your stack's already up. I did bring some here. If you want more for your home or office, we will deliver those to you. You just let me know how many you want, and we'll make sure to get those. If you really want to take them home today, we've got 1,800 upstairs, so we'll take as many as you want. Again, there's a stack here, but we do this every year. We know that they're useful. We love seeing them in the backgrounds of interviews on the news or whatever. We'll see Todd with his calendar behind him, so we love that. But we do this for you. It's fun. So please take one if you'd like one. Just a reminder also, for those of you who might not have been here last meeting, that our annual report, we've got copies up here. There's also a QR code to access that online. It's also on your handout here. And then we did go and do a newsletter sign up sheet last meeting. So thanks to everybody who signed up for that. But other options to sign up for that is just comes out every 2 months, email newsletter. It's a really good way to kind of keep up what MAPA's doing. And then if there are any ideas you have for future meetings or speakers at future meetings, always feel free to let us know. We're kind of developing all these agendas to meet your needs. So. And then now it's time for community updates. If anybody has anything they'd like to share about what's going on with them or coming up. I know Vicki Quates-Ferris is not here today because she's prepping for a couple big events that the Empowerment Network is doing. So go check those out and attend those.
Would have at the Astro Theater, we'll be hosting its first indoor concert tonight. Finally, we issued a temporary certificate of occupancy yesterday. I'm sure they're gonna have food because the kitchen is. And it'll be canned beer and soda. I think it's Blue October tonight.
Oh, that's
Chris Isaac tomorrow. Well, happy to be going with the indoor now. Or then we also have a cigar bar under review for that area and a bookstore. City Pub Restaurant is open there, so you can try it. It's really good every time I'm in there. They started that. Pop up out there.
Well, sorry, Travis, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna call you out. We didn't prep a slide, but one other MAPA update that we have is that our transportation planner, Travis Holm, is moving on. This will be his last RPAC meeting. He'll be completing his work at MAPA next week. Next Wednesday will be his last day. But I know a lot of you worked with Travis in the past, and we will miss him a lot. And I just wanted to give the opportunity for all of you to kind of know that. And for people to sign up the fighter next week.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, we're very good on change. Any other community updates, anything? Who's invited me to their Christmas party and where are the cookies and eggnog?
Always at my house.
Okay, we'll find it. All right, well, I think that's all we've got today. We'll see you in the new year in February. I hope everyone has happy holidays. And please let us know if you need anything before the next meeting. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for bearing with tech issues.
Yeah, so we're just trying to.